Right. Lalique car mascots. René Lalique produced these car mascots from 1925 until 1931 during the Art Deco period. So it was a short time actually. He made 28 different designs, which most of them are here. There were 2 mermaids, which are not car mascots, but a lot of people say they are, and that made 30 in all. So for argument's sake, there's 30 actual figures, 2 of which were really not meant for cars. The others are actual car mascots that went onto the radiator. So in the revolving stand, in this case here, just coming past me is Nade, which is what I've just been talking about. This particular one, the mermaid, was not meant as a car mascot. As you can see, it's quite tall. It's gone round now. Right, just to explain, on this shelf, that's a sanglier, which is the wild boar. This is a tête de paon, which is the peacock's head. This is a tête de coq, which is a cockerel's head. Coming round now, this is an archer. It's a Grecian style archer. It's very nice. This is a fauchon, which is a falcon, a hunting falcon. And here we are at Nade again, which is a large mermaid. There's also a small one, we'll come to that later. This is a little frog, grenouille, it's in French. Then the top shelf, this is 5 chevaux, which is 5 horses. This is Tête d'Épervier, which is a hunting falcon. Coming round is Tête de Bélier, which is a ram's head, and that's mounted on a Brev's Gallery's base, by the way, which was made by Brev's in London during that period. Now this is another Tête d'Épervier, but it's in a milky blue opalescent finish, which is rather nice. This is the other mermaid, which is the small mermaid, called Sirene. That covers the 2 shelves, the 2 top shelves. Coming to the middle shelf, we have Crisis, which is a leaning back nude lady with flowing hair, which actually is very good as a car mascot. This is a St. Christopher, which is, as we all know, protection for driver and passengers in a car. This is the full cock, called a coq nain or a dwarf cockerel. This is called Longchamp, the French racecourse. It's the horse's head, of course, and it's Longchamp B. There is an A, we'll come to that later. The bird here is a swallow. Which is called Hirondelle in French. And lastly, the bottom shelf, we have another tête de coq. We have, that's in a whitish glass. This is a tête d'aigle, eagle's head, which has an age patination, a yellowish age patination to it. That's another Crisis, but this has a solid base. It's not a car mascot, it's a paperweight. The car mascot version has a groove cut into the base. This is another cock name, which is the very dark green colour, which is quite rare. This is the most famous one. It's called Victoire, which is victory. They produced this after the First World War as a commemoration. Coming round the one inside is a large dragonfly, which is a Grand Liboulet. That's coming round, and in front of that there's a fish, which is a perch by Lalique. The black glass stands they're on, by the way, are contemporary bases, black glass bases. They didn't actually come with the bases, but it was an option. Okay, coming over to, we have another coq houdin, which is on a chromed metal base here is it's a screw type base for the radiator. It's not an illuminating base, so it's not a Brev's gallery base. We have another Crisis, which is the paperweight, again with a solid base. Another St Christopher, which is on a chrome display base on a wooden plinth. Then this shelf here, the lower shelf, we have two Côte d'Azur train, therefore the inauguration of the Côte d'Azur train in 1929. This one, I don't know if you can see, it has an inscription which is intaglio, meaning to say it's part of the moulding of the piece, which describes the event in 1929. So it's for the Côte d'Azur overnight train. Now Lalique, being a very clever entrepreneur, he produced afterwards exactly the same type of trophy. It was called a trophy, not a car mascot, without that inscription. So it has a plain, this one has a plain base, but it's marked R. Lalique. Coming to the lower shelf, we have another Nade. This is rather nice. It's in an opalescent milky blue, which is a graduated colour. In other words, if you hold it up to the light, you can see the graduation of the colour, and it has an orange tint inside, but you have to get the light completely right on it. To the two sides here, left and right, are vitesse, which means speed. One has a slight amethyst tint, this one, but unfortunately it's got a damaged base, which is mounted into another chrome radiator cap base. These are all interwar pieces, by the way. The bottom shelf here is another Tête d'Argol, but it doesn't have the patination that the one that I just showed you in the adjacent case. And this is another 5 chevaux. Unfortunately, there's some damage on the base where it meets the metal of the radiator cap. This extremely nice painting is of René Lalique, and it was done by his artist, very talented artist daughter, Suzanne Lalique, in 1931. So we've got the signature and the date there. It's got full provenance with it. I actually purchased it from Christie's last year. He's working at his desk, which is quite typical. He is writing or doing a sketch. And in the foreground is an Albert vase with his various ink pots here. So that's an oil on canvas. Coming back to the car mascots, this is a particularly nice Tête de Bellière, which is the ram's head. It's on a Brev's gallery base. Brev's were in London opposite Harrods in Knightsbridge, and they were the only UK outlet to be allowed to retail Lalique car mascots. So that's the Tête de Bellière. We have this running, leaping and running greyhound, which is a car mascot, again on a Brev's gallery base. It has a bulb inside, integral bulb. This is wired up to the car's battery, being 6 or 12 volt, whatever it is. And it powers the bulb, which makes the piece light up. There's a coloured filter which can be changed inside. So you've got this signature Lalique France here on the greyhound mascot. It's known in French as Levier. So, coming to this lovely piece, which is a straining horse's head in a race, and it's named Epsom by Lalique. It's mounted onto its Brev's gallery metal radiator lighting base, again with an outlet for a 6 or volt current. Inside there's a coloured filter with the bulb. here, I don't know if you can see, it has the full address, which is the Brev's Galleries in London, and a patent number. This has, just a note, has some slight bubbles inside, air bubbles, which are caught in the moulding. Nothing to worry about. There's not a fault. It's something that happens during the moulding. So if you have any mascots, paperweights or whatever by Lalique with air bubbles, don't worry. Quite acceptable. Coming to this piece, which is a very nice version of the tape de coq, cockerel's head, which I showed you before in the display case. However, this one has a grey tint to it, not a colour but a tint, which was done in the factory. Again, it's on its Brev's Galleries base with the outlet here for the power from the car's battery. It's signed Lalique France intaglio, meaning part of the moulding. There is no R for René. Why? I just don't know, nobody knows, but he had just Lalique France. Sometimes you have R Lalique, no France. They had to have France for export reasons. Without the France, it was for the home market, so that's quite understandable. But without the R, I don't know why he didn't include the R. Again, there's an air bubble just here. It's not a nick, a scratch. It's just an integral air bubble inside the glass. It's a wonderful piece. Coming to another horse's head. This is quite rare. This is a Longchamp as the one I showed you in the display case, but it's called Longchamp A, which has a double graduated mane. So there's two parts to the mane. This was only made for a short period of time because René Lalique, for some reason or the other, didn't like it. So he produced Longchamp B, which I can compare the two. So the difference is Longchamp A, double mane, Longchamp B, single large mane. So Longchamp B is quite common compared to this. This was made for a very short period. He didn't like the design, so he changed it. It's the only time where you get two car mascots with the same title. So I think that just about covers it. There are also the same mascots who are made into bookends. So for example, we have a pair of, these are bookends. They are the swallow, hirondelle, but they're made with large integral bases as bookends. He did this, as I say, he was very enterprising, so he used existing designs to make bookends and paperweights, and also desk ornaments. Again, we have a pair of bookends, which are the Tate d'Argol, the eagles, on very large glass stands, bases, which aren't integral. They are fixed afterwards, after manufacture. On the sides, you won't be able to see, but they have the Lalique engraved signature Lalique on the sides of the bases. These were made up until very recently. This is a little owl, baby owl called Shoet. It's in its box with the Lalique certificate, and just to complicate things, there is another one. This one is also Shoet, but it's thinner. So you've got the thin owl and the fat owl. This thin one was actually produced and designed in 1931. This one was produced in the 1980s, and they've only just discontinued this one. So it comes, or it used to come in its box with the factory certificate. So they're quite desirable now that they're discontinued. Now we've got a sanglier here, which is the wild boar. This is a paperweight, it's not a car mascot, and it's signed just Lalique France on the base here, which is in block capitals, but then normally the earlier ones are signed in script around the base. So that comes again in its box with the certificate, and the certificates sometimes, not always, have a number. That one hasn't got a number. Yes, it has an inspection number. There we are, control number there. So that comes with that. Then we have a St. Christopher, which is exactly the same as the car mascot, and it's marked Lalique France, which is intaglio. So just to make things confusing, these were made right up to the 1980s. However, the difference is this is crystal. This is not a solid hardened glass, it's a crystal glass, and it has a little label made in France on the base. So that again comes in its box with a certificate. These are all now discontinued, so they're not made anymore, they're finished, they're no longer on the catalogue, so there's nothing to worry about. So there are those. Then we have up here a very heavy moulded cast pair of revers, which are nudes leaning against these blocks here, and they are obviously a pair of bookends called revers, so they're quite handy. Then talking about bookends, here is bookends. Here is my book. This is volume 1 of Unique Lalique Mascots by myself. To follow up, they're sold very well, by the way, and they're finished now, but you can get them on eBay and Amazon, but at what price I don't know. They're originally retailing at £35 hardback. This is the second edition, which has a lot more photographs and covers pieces that aren't covered in this edition. I'm now working on the third edition, which covers the factory prototypes, which were never meant to be sold commercially. They were never meant to come on the market. They're 4 colour pieces, nobody has seen them before, and they're covered in volume 3. I have a lot of Lalique catalogues, etc., which are, by the way, all coming up for auction. Just to finish off, and by the way, this is a Lalique cabinet, and so is the other grey one. They came from a quite well-known boutique, Paris boutique. I had them shipped over. Fortunately, I got them at the time when they were refurbishing the shop. So I asked them about the cabinets, and they kindly let me, they didn't let me have them, they let me buy them. Right, so in this cabinet, we've got, first of all, 2 tape de paillon. I don't know whether they're clear enough for you to see through the plate glass. One is in the cobalt blue and one is in black. Then further along we have a tape de coque, which is in clear and frosted glass. We have a swallow, which as I stated is part of a bookend, so that's a swallow that was retailed by itself. Then that's a hirondelle, by the way, the swallow. And then we have another chrysis. This is a modern, fairly modern chrysis. I would put that at 1980s. That's discontinued now. And then finally we have a Grand Liboulet, which is the large dragonfly. That's in clear and frosted glass. They also produced some coloured versions. And next to that we have the fish, the perch. Again, that's in green, which is rather nice. And the one next to that is in clear and frosted glass. All these are post-war to modern, and they're all now discontinued. So they make good collector's items if you can get hold of them. Just to thank you for listening, and I hope you are interested in my collection. The whole collection is coming up at auction at Gorringe's in Lewes sometime in early September of this year. Thank you very much.